I've always been fascinated by mirrors. There's something about them, the way they capture your image, the way they seem to hold a piece of your soul. But not all mirrors are what they seem. Some are gateways, portals to something darker. This is the story of the mirror that changed my life, and the reflection that stared back. It was a rainy afternoon when I found the mirror. I was browsing a small, cluttered antique shop on the edge of town, the kind of place that smells like dust and old wood. The owner, an elderly man with piercing green eyes, watched me from behind the counter as I wandered through the aisles. That's when I saw it, a large, ornate mirror, its frame carved with intricate patterns of vines and flowers. The glass was slightly cloudy, but it had a certain charm, a certain allure. I couldn't resist. "How much for the mirror?" I asked, holding it up for the owner to see. He hesitated, his eyes narrowing. "That one's not for sale." "Why not?" I asked, intrigued. He shook his head. "It's cursed. Bad things happen to those who take it." I laughed, though his words sent a chill down my spine. "I don't believe in curses," I said. "Name your price." He studied me for a long moment, then sighed. "Fine. But don't say I didn't warn you." I took the mirror home and hung it in my bedroom. It looked out of place among my modern furniture, its ornate frame giving it an almost sinister air. But I didn't mind. I thought it added character. That night, I woke to the sound of whispering. At first, I thought it was the wind, but the sound was too deliberate, too close. I sat up in bed, my heart pounding, and listened. The whispers were coming from the mirror, soft and indistinct, like a crowd of people murmuring just out of sight. I grabbed my flashlight and shone it at the mirror. My reflection stared back at me, but something was wrong. The eyes were different, darker, colder, filled with malice. I blinked, and the reflection blinked back, but a fraction of a second later. "Hello?" I called out, my voice trembling. "Is anyone there?" The whispers stopped abruptly, and the mirror fell silent. I stood there for a long moment, my breath visible in the cold air, before retreating to bed. I told myself it was just my imagination, but I didn't sleep a wink that night. Over the next few days, strange things began to happen. Objects would move on their own, shadows would dart across the walls, and I would hear whispers when no one else was around. The mirror was always at the center of it. No matter where I put it, it would always end up back in my bedroom, its reflection staring at me. Then, the dreams started. Every night, I would dream of a figure standing in the mirror, its face pale and its eyes hollow. It would reach out to me, its fingers brushing against the glass, and whisper, "Let me in." I tried to get rid of the mirror, but it always found its way back. I threw it in the trash, only to find it hanging on my wall the next morning. I smashed it with a hammer, but it was back in one piece by nightfall. It was as if the mirror had a will of its own. Desperate for answers, I went back to the antique shop. The owner wasn't there, but I found an old newspaper clipping tucked behind the counter. It told the story of a woman named Eliza who had lived in the town over a century ago. She had been given the mirror as a gift, but soon after, her family began to die under mysterious circumstances. Eliza herself disappeared, and the mirror was found in her empty bedroom, its glass cracked and clouded. The article ended with a warning: the mirror is said to carry the spirit of Eliza, who seeks revenge on those who take it from its resting place. That night, I decided to confront the mirror. I stood in front of it, my heart pounding. "What do you want?" I demanded, my voice trembling. The mirror didn't respond, but the reflection began to change. My face twisted and contorted, until it was no longer me staring back. It was Eliza, her hollow eyes filled with malice. "You took me from my home," she whispered. "Now, you must pay the price." I stumbled backward, my mind racing. I remembered the dreams, the figure in the mirror. "Eliza? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The reflection tilted its head, its smile widening. "Let me in," it whispered. I don't remember how I got out of the house. All I remember is running, the whispers echoing in my ears. I didn't stop until I reached the antique shop. The owner was waiting for me, his eyes filled with pity. "I tried to warn you," he said softly. "What do I do?" I asked, my voice shaking. He handed me a small, weathered box. "Take it back to where it belongs. Bury it deep, and never speak of it again." I did as he said. I buried the mirror in the woods, far from my home. The whispers stopped, the dreams faded, and the shadows disappeared. But I know the mirror is still out there, waiting for someone else to find it. I still see her sometimes, the figure in the mirror. She stands at the edge of the woods, her hollow eyes watching me. And every time I pass a mirror, I can't help but glance at it, half expecting to see Eliza staring back, waiting for me to let her in.